Hello, Meow. I'm Master Tofu Flower and welcome to my crafting channel. Long time no see. Sorry for the wait. I will keep posting videos, so please subscribe and turn on your notification button so you don't miss any of my videos. In this video, I will teach you about the Tame Nuri. What it is, how it is made, types of Tame Nuri, and finally about the imitates of Tame Nuri and how to identify them. The kanji of Tame Nuri is consisted of tameru, which means the accumulation of fluid, condensation, dripping, and dropping. Nuri simply means paint. As the name suggests, this technique is to give the lacquerware a fluid-like look. This technique was originated in the prehistoric period in Eastern Asia. Tame Nuri is basically a translucent urushi topcoat on a middle layer of colored urushi. The top translucent urushi is thickly applied to allow it to flow and redistribute itself on the surface, resulting in an uneven thickness of paint, which gives the lacquerware depth and a fluid-like look. The urushi usually accumulates on concave area, as in the left picture, and flows away from the convex area. The final effects of the top coat depend on 4 factors. Firstly, the physical property of the top translucent urushi, namely its density, viscosity, surface tension, opacity, and color. They can be affected by many factors. Secondly, the shape of the substrate affects how the urushi flows and accumulates. Thirdly, the environmental factor, temperature and humidity, affects the curing speed, color, opacity, viscosity, and surface tension of the top coat. Dust can create darker or lighter spots on the surface. Gravity will affect how the urushi flows. Hence, the Tame Nuri urushi made in space will look different. Meow! By the way, did anyone watch The Cat from Outer Space? Fourthly and finally, the crafter. Crafters can adjust the 3 previous factors. Also, there are other factors, including but are not limited to how thick the urushi you applied, the removal of dust, the hardness of the brush direction, etc. They all can have great impacts to the finished product. The process of making Tame Nuri is simpler than the most urushi painting techniques. However, it is more skill dependent. Usually, few years of urushi experience are needed. I will explain the process in the next video in more details. Making Tame Nuri starts with the primer, usually one of the standard priming methods. Then, 1 layer of black urushi on the base. If there are a lot of defects, a black urushi middle coat can be applied to achieve a smooth surface. Depending on the skill of the crafter and the opacity of the pigment, 1 or 2 layers of colored urushi are applied. Next, a thick layer of translucent urushi is applied as the top coat. Most skilled crafters apply 1 top coat only, but 2 coats can be used if a darker color is required. Finally, the lacquerware is sanded and polished to high gloss. Traditionally, many skilled urushi crafters do not polish the top coat. Polishing will make the paint even, so some of the Tame Nuri effect is lost. Unpolished Tame Nuri lacquerware usually has more depth and a more natural appearance. Having the work unpolished means the crafters must do it right the first time and to accept their mistakes. This reflects the Japanese philosophy, ichigo ijie, which means any moment in life cannot be repeated, so we need to treasure any moment or chance in life. Always do your best. This finish also highlights the skill of the crafters. Typically, a simple hanji Tame Nuri work such as a fountain pen takes the crafter 3 months to complete. Half of the time is spent on the primer. It is more skilled than time in the case of Tame Nuri. I often hear sellers saying Tame Nuri takes long time to make because multiple translucent top coats are applied. There are a few reasons for that. First, the seller has no idea about the crafting process. Second, they try to increase the price by lying. Third, they are selling an imitate Tame Nuri. Please be incredibly careful if a seller says the Tame Nuri lacquerware took a year to make with 10 layers of translucent urushi. There are different types of Tame Nuri. It can be broadly divided into Kijiro Tame Nuri and Tame Nuri. Kijiro Tame Nuri is 3 layers of Fuki-Urushi to highlight the grain of a sealed wood substrate. The technique is quite different from Tame Nuri, which works on a primer surface. The traditional middle layer color is red or red-brown. In modern days, all colors on a rainbow can be used. The top translucent urushi is traditionally either black or red. Again, there are many colors of translucent urushi available. Finally, the work can be polished or unpolished. Unpolished Tame Nuri is usually done by very experienced crafters only. You can get a gloss or satin finish depending on the polishing method and the urushi used for the top coat. Now, we will look at examples of Tame Nuri. This is a Nakaya Aka Tame Nuri pen. Red middle layer and brown Kijiro urushi top coat. It is darker on the concave area as the urushi accumulates and lighter on the convex edges because the urushi flows away from it. As the urushi flows away, it accumulates and forms a darker area next to the lighter area. If you look carefully, you will see the uneven pattern-like color on the flat area. You might also see subtle brush marks, defects, and small light or darker spots on some Tame Nuri lacquerware. Next is a denitrial urushi Aka Tame Nuri. Again, brown Kijiro urushi is on top of the red urushi. Similar feature can be seen. An uneven pattern-like area, lighter on the edges, and darker next to the edges. This is a Nakaya Kuro Tame Nuri. Translucent black top coat on red middle coat. The red edges can be seen. However, the patina effect and the dark area next to the edge is less obvious in the photo. I'm sure they are visible under bright light. This is a Kijiro Tame Nuri bow. Quite different technique, but similar feature can be seen on the edges. Wood grains are highlighted by the urushi. There are beautiful brush marks and wood tuning marks on the body. Possibly unpolished satin finish. This is an example of an unpolished gloss Tame Nuri bow. There's obvious patina effect with surface defect, which gives a natural look. Tame Nuri lacquerwares are popular. Meanwhile, the making process is time-consuming and requires years of experience. The mismatch between demand and quantity drives the price up. Like many luxury goods, there are ways to imitate the appearance of Tame Nuri lacquerwares. To be honest, I think some imitates of Tame Nuri look nice. However, they are not Tame Nuri and should be labeled correctly. If they are sold as Tame Nuri, it is false advertising. Some common ways to imitate the Tame Nuri: multiple thin translucent layers and sanding, painting and blending colors, airbrushing urushi, or synthetic urushi, which is not urushi at all. Painting or rubbing on multiple layers of translucent urushi with light sanding between the layers is a common method to imitate the Tame Nuri for less experienced urushi crafters. This method is in fact much more time-consuming than the traditional method. The lighter area is created by sanding instead of the flow of urushi. Also, there's minimum patina effect on the flat area. As you can see in the demonstration, the more layers you apply, the more even the color will become, and the patina effect is lost within 4 to 5 layers. Then, the edges are sanded to make the coat thinner, so the color will become lighter. This pen has less character and depth since the flat surface has no shade variation. It has no defect or subtle brush mark that gives the pen the handmade touch. The edge has a lighter color, but there's no darker area next to the edges because the shade is created by sanding, not flowing of paint. The transition between colors is abrupt. Comparing to the genuine Tame Nuri pen, you can see how the urushi flows on the pen. The transition looks more natural. There's also a handmade touch. Next pen is an example of an imitate made by painting and blending colors. It is more of a misidentification than imitation. The correct name of this technique is bokashi nuri, which is as difficult as Tame Nuri. The transition of colors does not follow the property of fluid. The transition zone is usually much wider, and there's no dark ring next to the edge. Usually, there's no patina effect on the flat surface. Another example of a pair of expensive bokashi nuri bows. You may not know that urushi can be airbrushed when mixed with synthetic paint. If the paint is thickly applied, it will flow on the surface like the genuine Tame Nuri. Lighter color on edge and darker next to it can usually be seen. No skill is required in this technique. It can even be automated. However, the product has no patina effect, brush mark, or defect on the flat surface. It has less depth than the genuine Tame Nuri. In the worst scenario, the imitate of Tame Nuri lacquerware can just be painted by synthetic paint. In summary, Tame Nuri is colored urushi topped with translucent urushi. The urushi naturally flows on the surface, resulting in an uneven distribution on the surface. The uneven thickness of the top layer causes the signature patina-like look. The final appearance depends on 4 factors: the physical properties of the translucent urushi, the shape of the substrate, the crafter techniques, and the environment. There are different combinations of colored middle coat, translucent top coat, and the finish. The Tame Nuri lacquerware can be polished or unpolished. There are techniques that imitate the Tame Nuri, and you can identify them now. Next time, I will show you how to make a Tame Nuri pen. Meow! If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. And if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share my video to your friends. See you next time. Stay tuned. Meow!